Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's daf is Menachos Tzadi. We are holding out the Mishnah, which is 7 lines from the top of the Amud. Says the Mishnah, Kol midos shebamigdash, all the measuring units used to measure dry material in the Beis Hamikdash, hayu nugdashos, we would have to heap them in order to achieve the desired amount. So this connects to the sugi we learned the other day, that the Isarein measurement was gadush. So you would have to get a Isarein in there. Isarein means a tenth, right? Asiri Saifa. How do you achieve that quantity, that amount? By heaping the container. So in essence, the container itself contained a bit less than an Isarein, but combined with the heap, which was that layer rising above the actual container, sitting on the walls, you'd get an Isarein. So it's not that the heap was in addition to the Isarein, so it was an Isarein plus. No, it was a total of Isarein. The content with the heap itself would give you that Isarein. Chutz mishal kohen gadol, aside from the measuring unit used for the kohen gadol's mincha, the chavitin shaya goycha l'soicha. In this case, since it was handled a lot, it was materials transferred back and forth between the Isarein and the half. In order to keep the material safe and sound, they would actually make a larger container, slightly larger than the norm, so that it would contain the full Isarein within itself, within the walls, in the interior, right? Below the the rim. So you just top it up to the rim, and not above. So regular was goydish above to get the Isarein. By the one they used for the kohen gadol, the interior itself, without a heap, would equal the Isarein amount. Now midas halach, b'ritzein kodesh, says the Mishnah, the kli used to measure liquid material, it's beirutzin. Some parshanut learn beirutzin is the heap, the extra liquid which was sort of heaped over the rim. Beirutzin kodesh, the beirutzin of the midas halach are kodesh. Umidas hayavesh beirutzin choy. So only by liquids do we say the extra layer is kodesh, but the heap coming out of the dry measuring cups, right, meant for dry material, was choy, was not kodesh. In contrast to the Tanakama, obviously holds differently. So according to this sheet, it depends if it's a measurement for dry, for flour. There, the birutzin are not kodesh, unless it's inside the kli itself, as opposed to heaping above. But as opposed to liquids, or even the birutzin not kodesh. Rabbi Kiva Omer, let me explain to you why this difference. Midas halach kodesh, the measuring unit meant for liquids, it in itself was kodesh. It was sanctified by the Shemen HaMishcha, which was smeared on it, and therefore lefichach b'ritzein kodesh. Therefore, even the heap is kodesh because it's resting, on the kli. It's part of the kli content, right? The kli sort of contains that as well. It's part of the containment, right? And therefore the kedusha spreads onto the beirutzin as well, as opposed to midas hayavesh. There we say the beirutzin, the actual midah, was never really made kodesh. The only reason why the content within the midas hayavesh gets kedusha is because the owner putting it in there is mekadesh it b'peh, manually, personally is mekadesh it, verbally mekadesh, not by way of the kli. It's his own doing, and therefore he only has in mind what you actually need to have in the kli, not the extra. Lefichach beirutzin choil. Therefore, in this case, the beirutzin choil. Okay, so according to him, only the actual content within is kodesh, but nothing on top. So So apparently, according to him, the fully Isaron would get into the actual Kli without the heaping portion. Okay, Rabbi Yossi Eimer, I'll give you another reason why it is so. It's unrelated to this being Kodesh and this not being Kodesh. Rabbi Yossi Eimer, lo mishum zeh, that's not the reason. Ella, the reason why the upper layer of a liquid is Kodesh, but not by the dry material, el shalach nekar, because liquids, they transfer. Basically, when you start pouring into a glass, right? So, what ends up on top? Whatever ends up on top was originally inside on bottom. It just revolves and moves around and ends up swirling to the top. So since that material was originally inside the actual kli, so it's Kodesh. As opposed to dry, it doesn't work like that. You pour and pour and pour. Then when you get to the top, that last heap was never inside the kli. It landed directly, softly on top of the pile. And that's why it doesn't have Kedusha. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. Called Midas Sheba Migdash, Haynikdashes. All Midas were heaped except for the one for the Kohen Gadol. Now, we may recall we had a machlokes back a couple of days ago on Pezayin. According to Rameir, there was one Isaron and another Isaron. One Kli that contained the Isaron, another one as well. Difference is one was heaped to achieve the Isaron, and one was for the Kohen Gadol, which was not heaped. So who's speaking in the Mishnah? Mani, Rameir. We're going to Rameir. Chad Gadosh Hava. Mishnah seems to say that there were many measuring units that were heaped. According to Rameir, it was only one Isaron unit that was used in this fashion. Chad Gadosh Hava. Rabbanan. Are we going to Rabbanan, who hold that there was merely one Isaron measuring unit used for all Menachos, including Kohen Gadol, and it was all machak, which means to say the heap was already included in the actual measurement itself. In the inside of the chad, there was only one unit, it was machak, without a heap, which is unlike our Mishnah, which describes the midah as being gadush. We're going to Rav Meir. And in fact, you're right, there was only one Isaron that was gadush. And when the Mishnah says kol midas, it simply means kol medidas. All measurements using this one unit was measured in this fashion. So we're talking about the activity. Now, the plural is not going the multiple units, rather on the various acts of measurements. Midas salach, we're saying kodesh. So So we have machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Kiva. Right? According to Rabbi Kiva, the midas halach was kodesh, and therefore the berutzin is kodesh as well. Midas hayavesh was chayil, and the berutzin follow that as well. According to Rabbi Yossi, it has to do with the movement of the material. Liquid moves, dry does not. Michael Mifli, what's the machlokes about? So that's the more Tanakama Savar. So we also have a Tanakama, right? Before Rabbi Kiva, we had a Tanakama who says that the birutzin of the lach was kodesh and not birutzin of the yavesh. He doesn't give an explanation. Rabbi Kiva gave an explanation because the midas halach is kodesh in itself and therefore it affects the birutzin, etc., etc. So what's the machlekes? Tanakama saw the first sheet that holds midas halach nimeshach bein mebifnim bein b'chutz. Both measuring units, the one meant for lach, one meant for yavesh, were nimshach. Nimshach means it was anointed by the Shem and HaMishcha, was kaddish. But there's a slight difference in the extent of the kaddish. Midas lach were nimshach, inside and out. And therefore the birutzin, which rest on the top of the kli, on the rim, which is technically outside the kli, is kaddish as well. But midas yavesh nimshach b'fnim v'lo nimshach b'chutz. Yavesh was limited to kedusha inside, not outside. That's the way it was. And therefore, only what's actually inside the kli is kaddish, but not what's outside. Rabbi Kiva Savar. Rabbi Kiva disagrees. He says, "Midas halach nimshcha bein b'bifnim bein b'chutz." He says, "You're right. By lach, I agree. That kli was for inside and outside. Therefore, the berutz is not kodesh. Midas yavesh lo nimshcha kol ikar." He says, by yavesh there was no mashiach at all. And as we explained, the reason why there'll be kedusha at all on the content is because he was Mekadosh beped, the Mefarshim say, that he verbally was Mekadosh, and therefore he's only Mekadosh what he needs. What's inside, what's required. Rabbi Yissi goes a step further. He says, he says, no difference between lach and yavish. In both cases, the Mashiach only pertain to the inside and to the content, and not to anything beyond it. But the reason why there's a difference is the lach nekar, liquid, gets uprooted, so to speak. At first lands inside and then comes to the top. From the inside of the klika asi, it travels to the outside. As opposed to the powder or the flour, doesn't have this phenomenon. And therefore, only what's actually inside is kaddish. Ask the Gemara, I understand that the lach is nekar, fine. It moves around, it was first inside, then it's outside. But who cares? His intention is only to be mekadesh what he needs, and he only needs the lug. He doesn't need the extra heap. We learn from here klei sharis mekadesh lemidas. Klei sharis has his own independent power. It works independent of the owner, independent of what he has in mind. And if it's in there, or on it, or affected by the kli, it's kaddish. No, certainly we can say klei sharis doesn't have its own powers. It's only mekadesh what the person had in mind for it. So back to the question, why are we considering the extra as kaddish? Because it's a rabbinic concern. Perhaps people will say, well, you see, look, that liquid was first in there, and now it's sitting on using it for private. People might say, people might be tempted to misconstrue, misunderstand moitzin, and they'll say moitzin make klei sharis l'chayil, can take something that was in a klei sharis and make it chayil, not realizing that this wasn't really inside. I have a question. You're concerned about appearance and misleading the observer. We know the lechem aponim with the bazichin, with the spoons of incense were placed on the shulchan on Shabbos and left there for the full week until next Shabbos. What if Siddur is halechem was a bazichin lachar Shabbos? He didn't get a chance to do it on Shabbos, he did it on Sunday. So both the bread and the bazichin. Comes next Shabbos, decide, okay, it's time to be makter, to offer the incense on the mizbeach. Victor as a bazichin b'Shabbat. Psula, it doesn't work because it was short time. It wasn't there for a full week. So what do you do? What's the proper way to do it? So you leave it there until next week, right? So let's say you got a chance to only do it on Sunday. Don't come back Shabbos. Come back the following Shabbos. This way it was there a full week. Okay, it said yes. Nechenol Shabbos haba. Shafilu hu ala shulchan. Yomim rabim. The point is, even though it turns out that the bread will be sitting there for many more days than necessary, first from Monday, from Sunday to Shabbos, and then again from Shabbos to Shabbos, there's no harm done. Why? Because there was no real Kedusha activated until Shabbos came along. Right? And at that point, from that Shabbos to the next Shabbos is merely 1 week, so you're good. Rashi on the bottom says the lashon that there's no lina. There's no lina on the lechem aponim. Okay. So the point is, whatever it is, even if it's sitting there many days, there's no lina. Right? So typically, when a carbon stays overnight beyond its required time frame, it becomes possible lina. But here, even though it's been there so many days, extra days, no harm is done. Okay, that's the Allah. But mind, the question is why? Why are we allowing this to go through? Why are we allowing this fellow to leave the lechem on the shulchan for so long? Here, people might again misunderstand, and will say, well, perhaps this is a standard procedure. You can you can leave material in a kli sharis as long as you want. There's no issue of expiration. There as well, there's room for confusion and mistake. People might say Gzeira Shema Yom. People might say Mafkidan b'Kli Sharis. You can leave something which is Kaddish and Kli Sharis without concern for Lina. We're not realizing this is different because it was never really activated until Shabbos. So if we're concerned about appearance and misunderstanding, so why not in this case? Answer the big difference between the Shulchan, which is sitting deep inside, out of sight in the Heichal, where people are not really watching and seeing, as opposed to Kli Sharis, which is something which is seen and accessible by all. In which case you have to be more careful about appearance. Pnim, something which is inside achutz, on something which is outside karamis, you're comparing, you're asking. Pnim, lav kulam yadi. What's inside, not everybody sees, not everybody knows. Only the kehanim who are well learned, educated and learned. As opposed to chutz, something which happened with Kli Sharis outside, kuli al miyad, everybody knows, everybody sees. And there's more concern about, addressing PR. Not awesome. Okay, we move on to a different Mishnah, which will reference the birutzin, the extra material which heaps, which falls out. Not awesome. Material which is left over from the nesachim, right? The nesachim are the Menachos nesachim, which come with every carbon, the flour, the oil. There's extra material. Use it to supply the mizbeach with dessert, so to speak. Kites are the dried figs, meaning to say like filler material, so to speak, if the mizbeach is now idle. We have a supply of carbon oiloids, which are going to be offered as a donation on mizbeach. Now, what exactly is this Moisa Nesachim? Where is this extra money? My Moisa Nesachim, Rabbi Chibar Yosef Amar Birusei Midas. He says if you have heaps, so if a fellow, let's say Hegdish, buys supplies for the carbonates, flour and all that, and the supplier gives them, in a heaping fashion, and now they don't need that much. They don't need a heaping isar, they only need isar. So that extra material is now translated into money and used to purchase these extra carbonates. Rav Yechon Amar, Rav Yechon says, I'll tell you it's from Kaiser Shaninu. It relates to the Mishnah back in Maseches Shkolim. Hamakabel all of the sapik slosses ma'arba. How do you have extra material? Look, if a distributor committed a certain rate, okay, he's going to supply Hegdish, supply the Beis HaMikdash with soiles, with flour, per sela. Okay, so 4 pounds per dollar. So it was on a low rate. And then the price went up, and it's up to 3 pounds per dollar, more expensive. Sapik ma'arba, and he wants to back off. No. Once Hegdish paid for it on that rate, you have to stick to that rate. You committed to the lower rate, and it goes both ways. Hegdish always wins. Mishalash, you committed to the $3 a pound, 3 pound per dollar rate. Then the price dropped. It's down to 4 per dollar. Misapik mi'arba. And he has to supply 4 per dollar. Why? Shiad Hegdish alayin. Hegdish always wins. Always had the upper hand. Because just like by an ordinary transaction with ordinary people, the actual commitment only happens through Mashiach, through physical transfer of the material. So although Hegdish is kind of with kesef alone, just simply by paying, but they have the advantage of a hedi, the regular person as well, if it is to their benefit. So in this case, it is to their benefit to hold up the sale and allow for a price adjustment. Okay, so again, the Moisa Nesachim is used for Kaitzim Mizbeach. 2 ways to understand, either the heapings or the extra material by way of a price adjustment. Tanik Based Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef, we have a right to the first pshat. Tanik Based Rabbi Yechon, we have a right to the second pshat from Brisa as well. Tanik Based Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef. Beirut Midas Halalu, so the heapings that come along with the measurements, with the materials. Ma what do you do with the extra stuff? If there is another carbon to go along with, fine. So you attach it to that carbon. If it so happens that there was no other carbon and it was left overnight, the pasal belina becomes pasal trilina. Ve'im lav, and suppose it was not yet in the kli sharis, which would make it susceptible to lina, so the material is still unaffected. Mekitz ben samizbech, use it for kaitz mizbech. What exactly is kaitz mizbech? As we explained, kaitz ma'u. What is kaitz? Oilos it's a version of a carbon oil, a donated oil. Habasar Hashem, the flesh goes up to Hashem, to Shemaim, by way of burning on the Mizbeach, while Eretz L'Kohanim, the hides to the Kohanim. So that supports the opinion that Moisa Nesachim at the Birutzin. And then we have a Brisa, Tani Rabbi Yochanan, that's in terms of the extra, from the price adjustment. Hamakabel olav l'sapik slosais. Slosais is the Seilas Lashon Rabbim. Mi'arba, committed to 4 per dollar. V'amdu mishalosh, now it's up to 3 per dollar. Misapik mi'arba has to stick with his earlier commitment of 4 per dollar. Mishalosh v'amdu ma'arba. Suppose he committed to 3 per dollar and then it went down to 4. Now Hegdish will end up with more than they bargained for, and there's extra material. Misapik mishalosh. Mi'arba, he has to supply 4 per. Because Hegdish has the upper hand. But what do you do with that material? And that corresponds with what we learned. Moiser Nesachim, the leftover of Nesachim, is directed to fill the Mizbeach Lakei to Mizbeach. Okay, so let's do a quick Chazar. We spoke about the status of the Birutzin sitting above the Midos. We have several Shittos, some who make a distinction between Yavesh and Choil, between Yavesh and Lach, and it's based on several explanations, either because of the Meshicha difference or because of the swirling effect of liquid, which is not there by the Yavesh. According to some, it's only Gzeira B'Derabbanan because it appears like it was inside. And then we had a halacha regarding Moisa Nesach. Okay, speaking about Nesachim, so we're meant to know that pretty much every carbon, every donated carbon, as opposed to carbon chayva, every carbon comes along with a Menachos Nesachim. Menachos Nesachim is comprised of several elements. First you have the Mincha element, so it's the mix of flour and oil. And then we have the Nesachim, the wine, which is poured on the Mizbeach. Kol Karbonos HaTzibur Vayochat, says the Mishnah, every public or private carbon to the Nesachim needs the Nesachim to come along with it. Except, right? Every rule has an exception. Chutz Min HaBchor, firstborn carbon, V'Maser, 10th animal, V'Pesach, the carbon Pesach, V'Chatz V'Asham, all these are obligatory carbonis, which don't need Nesachim. Ella, but again, there's an exception to the rule. In some instances, Shechatos Shel Mitzvah Rashami, by a Mitzvah, the Chatas V'Asham needs Tunin Nesachim, as we'll see in the Gemara. Tunin Rabbanan. So how do we know which ones need, which ones don't? So this Gemara takes us to a pasuk in Bamidbar, Tesvav, which discusses the details surrounding Minchas Nesachim. And the pasuk reads like this. Let's just read the pasuk first. If you have it on the side, it's great. Vasisim Isha Oila Hashem, Isha Hashem Oila. So you'll offer a carbon Oila, Oy Zavach, Oila Zavach, Lafale Neder and Oy Benadav, if it's a donated, a pledged carbon, Oy Ma'adechem, all carbon is brought during the holidays. La Sois Reich Nechech Hashem, Min HaBakar Min HaTzayim. So we're pretty much going to dwell on this pasuk, analyze it pretty much word for word. Tana Rabbanan. Vasisim Isha Hashem. So you would think every carbon needs Nesachim. Right? Yochel, I would think, any carbon which is put on the Isham, on the fire, needs Nesachim. I feel a mincha v'na mincha. Tamalayma oila. Oila is an animal carbon only, not a mincha. So basically, a mincha does not need another mincha to come along with it. What about shlamim? Fine, we covered oila. What about shlamim? Minayin, tamalayma zevach. Zevach covers the shlamim as well. Okay, what about a carbon toida minayin? Tamalayma oy, the extra oy zavach covers the toida. So perhaps I'll include yochel shanimar ba'bechor umas or pesach chaz v'asham. Perhaps they also need nesachim. Tamalayma, pasuk says only a donated, a pledged carbon. Falei neder v'nadava. We learn bab neder v'nadava, only a carbon which can be offered as a neder, as a nadava, something which is a voluntary offering. To nesachim needs nesachim, as opposed to an obligatory offering. She'enei bab neder, like a chaz v'asham, which cannot be donated. Ein ton does not require nesach. Continues the Gemara. Okay, mashma lo hitzias elu. So we derived an exemption to exclude the aforementioned list. Bechor, Maser, Pesach, Chatas Vashim, right? Because they need to be a neder and a double. Oitis HaChayves. Habois, Machmas, Regel, Beregel. So perhaps I'll exclude even the obligatory Yom Tov Karbanos which come on account of the Yom Tov. They're not voluntary Karbanos, perhaps they're exempt from the Nesachim. For example, what are they? Oilo Yisrael. The oil that one brings when he comes to visit Beis Hamikdash, Sham Chagiga, the shlam that you bring on Yom Tov as well. Perhaps no nesachim because they're chayva. Tamalaymar comes the pasuk oy b'mayadechem. So Yom Tov karbana is kol habab mayadechem. The karbanas that come on Yom Tov ton nesachim need nesachim. Mash malav eseil. Okay, so I've now included the oilas riyah sham chagiga. Obviously rechatas. Perhaps I'll bring the I'll include also the chatas, which comes on Yom Tov as an obligatory carbon. Perhaps that's also included. Since it comes as a chayva b'regel on Yom Tov, tamalaymar v'chisasa ben bakar. So the pasuk later mentions something about a ben bakar, which seems like a repetition because we already said every oila, every zevach, every donate. What do you have to go enumerate the various types of animals, the cattle, all that needs an nesachim? Ben bakar b'chlal haya. Ben bakar was already included. So why was it singled out? The answer is lahakash elef, to connect all to the cattle. Ma ben bakar miyuchat ba ben eder nadava. What's unique? What defines a ben bakar? It only can be offered as neder nadava. Af koil ba ben eder nadava. So it's only a type of carbon that can be offered as neder nadava. So therefore, we also include oilas riyah sham chagiga, because although in their current format they're chayva, you have to bring it on Yom Tov, but in its type, in its category, an oila, a shlamim, can be donated, right? As opposed to sirei chatas, which has no voluntary version to it, and therefore it's out. The pasuk continues. La says reyach nechayach Hashem and abakam natzah. What's this part of the pasuk teaching us? Because the pasuk began with a reference to an oila. Perhaps even a bird oila requires nesachim. B'mashma is also included. Comes the pasuk later and says min habakar min hatzayin, only animals. So only animal karbanos need a nesachim, not birds. Divrei Yushi tezet Rabbi Yaishia. Rabbi Yonasan Omer. We don't need a new pasuk to exclude birds. Hari Omer. Because look at the beginning of the pasuk. It says V'asisem, right? Isha Hashem oila oy zevach. Zevach means an animal carbon which has shechita. V'oifen is zevach. A bird is not called a zevach. So we know to exclude a bird from there. In came atam aloymar min habakar min hatzayin. So why does the pasuk conclude with those words min habakar min hatzayin? For a different purpose. Shenamar, because we go back all the way to the beginning of Sefer Vayikra. Adam kiyakir mikem carbon Hashem. Person chooses to bring a carbon min habehema, min habakar, min hatzayin. So perhaps if one promises from pledges and an oil, he has to bring both types. Perhaps if a person commits to an oil, Yavi Mishtim has to bring bakar and tzayin, cattle and light animal. Right? Min habakar min hatzayin means together as one package. Talmud Leimar min habakar oy min hatzayin. That's why we have our pasuk, which adds the extra word oy, one or the other. You have a choice. You don't have to bring both. Ratza echad maybe, ratza shnai maybe. It's up to you. You can bring one. You can bring both. Rabbi Yonasan, who already used this pasuk by us min habakar min hatzayin for his purpose to exclude the birds, right? Sorry, according to Rabbi Yonasan, which is what we just left over, Rabbi Yonasan says that it's coming to tell you that you can bring one or the other. You don't have to bring both. Lama likra. Well, why do we need this pasuk? To separate the bakar and the tzayin, you can bring them as separate offerings. You don't have to bring them to Ha'amar. Rabbi Yonasan himself teaches us elsewhere that throughout the Torah, when you have two items mentioned alongside each other, it's one or the other. It doesn't mean it goes together. Ha'amar ad sheyifra, until the Torah actually specified that it's one package. Ad sheyifra the chakasav, when it says yachtav together, but otherwise if it's not yachtav, it's one or the other. So we don't need further elaboration on that pasuk in Vayikra. Once it says min habakar min hatzayin, the default position, default understanding is each one's on his own. You don't have to bring both together. You can choose one or the other. Isrich, no, we need another pasuk, because I would think perhaps in this case it's different. Sagle, perhaps there would be room to misunderstand and to think. We're up on Tzadik Aleph Amud Aleph. Hayluk siv umin hatzayin. If you take a close look at that pasuk at the beginning of Vayikra, instead of saying min habakar without a vav, and then min hatzayin without a vav, a connector vav, it doesn't say that. It says min habakar min hatzayin. That's a connecting vav. Perhaps I could view that as though it says yachtav. It's as though the Torah is connecting them. And you need to bring bakar and tzayin in fulfillment of your oila pledge. that necessitates a new pasuk by us. Oi. They tell you, no, they're separate. You can choose one or the other. And ask them one more question. Now, if we step back a second, back up, we have Rabbi Ashi before. Rabbi Ashi is one who says that this pasuk, the extra expression is coming to exclude oila soif. Right? So he uses it for a different purpose. But how could he? How does he know that bakar and soin are separate? How do we know that if one pledges an oila, he can bring one or the other? He's not compelled to bring both. You see, generally Rabbi Ashi holds whenever two items are mentioned alongside each other, like in the pasuk in Vayikra, back in Vayikra, where it says menabakar menatzoin, typically it means together as one package. So we need a new pasuk by us and by Midbar to tell you that's separate. But that pasuk is already being used for exclusion of the birds. It's unavailable for this purpose. Who says even without expressing the word yachtav, which binds the things together, it's treated as though it's yachtav, it's together. So now we have to elaborate and clarify that when one promises an oil, he can bring one or the other. Problem is that this pasuk by us in Bamidbar, which says bakar oimen atzoin, which is a separator, has already been used for according to him for a different purpose. The answer is, take a look back in Vayikra. And then it says so clearly the pasuk itself, the parasha itself, separates them. It could either be a bakar, cattle, or tzayin, one or the other. No. So back to the other shita. Why did he need a special pasuk by us to separate the bakar from the tzayin? In the discussion over there in Parashat Vayikra itself, we see a separation. V'idach isrich, we need a new pasuk to separate them. Why? Perhaps there's room to think, how do you be mefarish? Yeah, when can you bring one or the other? When you express it. When you promise to bring a bakar, fine. Tzayin, fine. Stama, suppose he didn't specify. He says, I'm going to bring an oila. Perhaps he has to bring the full package. Laisim tarai has to bring both. Kamash Malon comes the pasuk over here by Midbar. Mina bakar oy mina tzayin. It's one or the other. Okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow with Hashem. But in the meantime, we know that all karbanos need minchas nesachim, except for karbanos chayva, like b'char, maser, pesach, things which cannot be donated, right? B'char, maser, pesach, chatas v'asham, except the chatas and the asham mitzvah, which need nesachim. We exclude the birds. We also included the chayva is haregel, like the oila is riyah shal mechagiga, but not the siriya regel. And then we clarified that back in Vayikra, when one donates an oila, you need not bring both types. It's one or the other. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rab.